What's going on, guys? JB Woodworking here. Hey, today I've got a cool video for you. It's a little longer than my normal video. This was a huge project that I had to cut down 8 hours of video footage into something watchable. So please stick around. You won't want to miss this. So the idea here was to wrap this project in plastic and then use the hole that I drilled through the top to fill up with resin, and that would drain down into the lower layers, which that part did work actually really well. The plastic wrap was a horrible idea, and I ended up switching over to this window film treatment that you would put on your windows in the winter to keep the air out. It's a lot thicker, and I was able to use my heat gun to kind of shrink that up a little bit too. So this whole project started a few weeks ago when one of my viewers here on YouTube reached out and asked me if I would consider doing a commission piece for him. We'll just say his name is John, for example. Anyway, John said he's watched my videos and liked my work and wanted to see if I could make something for him. Long story short, I gave him my email address. We exchanged a bunch of emails back and forth. I had some really cool ideas, and he had some specifics about the color and the color of resin, the color of wood, and the general size, but wanted to leave things open for me to have my creative side kind of take over, which I thought was really cool. So that's where it started, and now you get to see what happened. And I know the title of my video says my first commission piece, but I've made stuff for friends and family, but this is my first commission piece that I've made for somebody that I don't know, somebody that exists out in this world that likes my work and wanted me to make something for him. So I thought that was really cool. So I'm mixing up some resin here. It's a deep pour epoxy 48-hour curing time. This is my first time using a mica powder that's actually a liquid to begin with, which is really hard to work with, by the way. A couple drops of this stuff and it completely tints the resin. So if you're hoping to get a lighter shade, it's really hard. It's really hard to work with, especially on a pour where I have to do multiple batches to fill up a project like this. It's hard to get a consistent color. It did turn out really nice at the end, but you can definitely see some color variation. All right, so here I'm pouring the resin down through the initial hole that I drilled. And if you watch this for a minute, you'll start to see the resin kind of filling up part of that layer, then it drips down to the next layer, and then the very bottom layer. Overall, this actually worked out pretty well. I did have some trapped air pockets that I had to fix later on by adding a little more resin to it and doing a second turning. On the bowl, I just used some tape on the back and then filled up the spots with resin where I needed to fill them up. And thankfully, throughout this whole project, that resin didn't leak out at all. I was a little bit worried about putting this in the pressure tank and having the resin just dump out all over the place. But you will see me make a bit of a mistake here in a little bit. I did the drill a little too fast and dumped out some resin on my table, but that's not a big deal. Yeah, so I've never done resin like this before, so I had to be a little bit creative with this process. I'm going to add some tape to the outside of the bowl to kind of bring in that second layer a little bit, which does push the resin up and out the top a little bit as well. But overall, it was good to have the extra resin in there, so as it absorbed into the wood a little bit, it kind of leveled things off. Now, if you watch this bowl, you might notice that it seems to be kind of wobbling a little bit. I didn't actually notice at first, but the mortise actually broke, and thankfully it didn't come flying off at me. It was broken just enough, though, that it made a little bit of a wobble, and I ended up having to get creative to be able to fix it, which you'll see here in a little bit. So thankfully, I noticed I could still see the screw holes from where the faceplate was attached earlier. So I had the idea to kind of flatten that out. I put it back on the lathe, even with the damaged mortise, which is not a safe thing to do. But I didn't know how else to salvage this bowl, so I took very, very light cuts and flattened this out, and you'll see. Now, of course, doing this is going to throw off the balance just a little bit because you're not going to get the faceplate screwed on exactly where it needs to be perfect. So, doing this to fix the mortise on the bottom, I ended up having to slightly return the outside of the bowl again to make it all perfect. But it worked out. So some of these recordings, when you speed them up like this, I'm actually running at 2,000% right now because this took so long. Anyway, you get some loud screeching noises with some of the tools as they interact with the material, especially the carbide tools and the resin. So for some of those parts here, I'm going to add in some music. I've tried that in the past, and I got some negative comments because the music was so loud. So I turned the gain way down, and we're going to try it again. So hopefully you enjoy the music, and sit back and listen. So for the lid, I wanted to make this segmented as well, since the walnut layers in the bowl are segmented. Um, and you'll see me sanding the corners off here. I mainly did this because the corner to corner measurement is just over 13 inches, which won't fit on my lathe. But a quick rounding out of those corners made it fit just fine. So I thought this lid looked awesome as it was, but John requested a design on top of the lid, and he sent me some pictures of what he was thinking. So I came up with this water drop ripple effect, which I thought turned out amazing. I was really nervous to do this to the lid. I was worried about ruining the appearance of it. But after I was finished with it, I was just amazed. It looked absolutely awesome. And then later on, after that, you'll see me add a brass knob to the lid, which actually matches John's furniture at his home. He sent me a link on Amazon to what he bought for his furniture. So I got some of those as well for this, and it was a nice touch. But check it out. So the idea here is I marked out a line on the bowl every 3/4 of an inch from the outside edge of the bowl moving towards the middle, leaving some space in the middle because there is going to be a brass knob. And then you'll see me here. I'm planning to carve out the middle of each of those in between each line, and that's what I did. And sorry in advance here for some of the chatter on this turning near the outside of the bowl with no real support there. It's a little screechy, a little chattery. So sorry. So here I'm going to put the finish on the lid. I'm using my tried and true original. Probably my favorite finishing product that I put on my stuff. I'm not sponsored by them, but hey, uh, whoever owns Tried and True, if you want to send me some for free, I like it, and I will promote it. Alright, so here on the bowl you can see where I had some discoloration in the resin, and that's from doing multiple pours and then touching up the air pockets where I had some trapped air. It is what it is. The liquid coloring for the resin, it was so difficult to work with because it was so concentrated. And mixing up the smaller batches with the resin, it just turned out darker. But I talked to John about this, and I sent him some pictures. I'm like, hey, this is what happened, and this is why this is this way. Thankfully, he was good with that. It kind of shows the handmade nature of things. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not a production piece that you'd go to a store and buy. It's a one of a kind. It's got some quirks. It is what it is, and at the end of the day, I still think the bowl turned out and looks amazing, and my customer is happy with it. So there we go. So one of the requests from John for this bowl is that you'd be able to shine light through it to kind of make it glow. John has some type of an LED light that he's planning on putting inside, and we'll see some pictures at the end. It turned out absolutely amazing. So I gotta say, I really love the entire bowl and how it all turned out, but I will say the lid is probably my favorite part of this, besides the fact that the light can shine through the resin rings in different colors, and yeah, this lid is awesome though. I love it. I'm definitely gonna reuse and make a lid like this again in the future for something else. So for this project, I ended up doing one final coat of wax on this. It's a microcrystalline polish wax material, and just gives it a little extra shine. I thought the bowl turned out great as it was, but I wanted to give it a little more protection. Now I also made an insert for the bottom of the bowl where the mortise is normally at. I played around with the idea of using my laser system to create some type of logo for this. Thankfully, a good friend of mine, along with ChatGPT, we were able to create a logo that I burned into this piece of maple and then glued into the mortise in the bowl, and that turned out really great. You'll see some pictures here in a few minutes. So this was a really fun project, and I learned a lot from it. I remembered that working with resin, at least for me, takes so much more time, and it's such a huge mess to clean up. The results are awesome, but it's so much work. Um, there's one spot I remember in the video where I'm just covered in these resin strings. It kind of looks like spider webs, which is kind of fitting because it's just past Halloween. I also learned that I really kind of underprice my work. So I initially had quoted John a price, and as things progressed with making this bowl, I realized how much more resources and time I was taking. And I told him I would still honor the original price because that's just who I am. Thankfully, John recognized how much work and time I was putting into this, and I'll just say he gave me a nice little bonus. Even beyond the whole money side of this project, though, John thought this bowl turned out amazing, and he loves it. And just knowing that somebody out there likes and appreciates my work, and that alone means so much to me. That makes it all worth it. All right, so I've got some pictures coming up here, and these pictures are of the bowl in John's home where it's going to live. And you'll see some pictures of the bowl itself with and without the lid. And then there are some pictures of the light inside at night. And it's really, really cool because the lights from the rings on the bowl reflect down on the table beneath it. And it makes such a cool effect. It's just awesome. All right, so here's that maple insert that I made on the laser etching machine. That turned out really cool. The rest of the pictures are of John's home and where the bowl lives. So make sure you stick around and check them all out. There's several photos here on the table, and then showing the brass knob and the lights. And the lighting effect, you'll just have to see it. It's really awesome. But that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching the video. If you like the video, please consider subscribing to my channel. And feel free to leave me some comments in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Thanks again for watching.